So the World Cup is starting to heat up a little bit on and off the field. Ryan, we obviously had the first major upset over the weekend with Japan, surprising Ireland. Plenty of talk about the officiating. And then in the Boks camp, building up to what is a must-win game against Italy, and the big news out of their camp, Jesse Kriel heading home with an injury. What's just been your take, maybe starting with that talking point of Kriel heading home?
It's definitely more significant than it appears on the surface. I've never thought that Jesse Kriel was kind of a world-class game changer, but in the context of that particular Springbok side, he was important. Especially in light of him being the only other specialist 13 in that squad. So he's replaced by Damien Willemse, which means that should something happen to Lukhanyo, there's got to be a reshuffle of sorts. So either Damien Dialende going to 13 or Frans Steyn shifting there. And both of those players have played there, but neither are specialists. So it's significant. We got to hope that Lukhanyo stays fit and keeps playing well. Otherwise, I think it could be like I said, below the surface, there could be a serious problem with that particular injury.
Yeah, I think Jesse Kriel doesn't always win in terms of the fan social forums. A lot of people criticize him for not really offering a lot in attack, but I think sometimes his influence on defense is a little bit underestimated, especially in that defensive system that the Boks are operating with under Jacques Nienaber. I've watched him closely when, as an experienced defensive organizer, he's one of those guys that is very good at reading the game when he comes out of line to block those sort of outside channels and that pass, that extra passing channel. He's very good at coming out, reading when the moment is, and forcing the attackers, to go back in rather than go wide, which is what the Boks have been doing a lot of the time. So for me, those 20 minutes, off the bench, that when he could allow Lukhanyo to go flat out for an hour, and then they bring on Jesse Kriel with his experience and ability to just continue kind of in the same vein with that defensive organisation. I think it's very important. So now they've got to go, okay, Lukhanyo is suddenly playing not 60 minutes but 80 if they don't want to shuffle that midfield.
Yeah, critical point like that you bring up. So one of the defining qualities of Jacques Nienaber defence has always been a strong organizer at 13, right? Because the fold from the outside is kind of what defines that defensive strategy. So if you look back at that successful Storm as well, I say successful, they made the Super Rugby final 2010, lost to a very good Bull side. Jacques Vrede was leading that particular, playing in that particular role. Great defensive organizer, and that's kind of integral to, like I say, like that Nienaber defensive pattern. So Lukhanyo is doing a good job in that regard, but in that context, it's so critical, that he stays fit, because you're right. Like Jesse Kriel, I described him as like vanilla yogurt at one stage. He's kind of just like, okay, whatever. But there's no question that especially in that last critical 20-minute period, he brings a degree of composure, physicality, and most critically organisation to that defence at a time where they've often been under pressure.
And then Rassie Erasmus also made some big calls in selection for the Italy game. They've said it's horses for courses. They're looking to really front up physically, and in the forward exchanges, that's where they think Italy will pose the biggest challenges in those forward exchanges. So they brought in Bongi Mnambi and Beast, Lourdes Yaga, a heavy forwards bench, 6-2 split. Quite interesting moves there. For me, the biggest takeaway is just that he's almost sent a bit of a sign and a signal to some of the players who've maybe been resting on their laurels and maybe been playing on reputation. So you think of a Marks who, dropping him to the bench for a big game would have been unthinkable a while back. Franco Mossa's been generally the first choice 5. Suddenly he's got to think about how he's been performing. And I think even others that have been kind of hovering there, like an Etzebeth, for me, hasn't been performing at quite 100%.
Yeah, agreed.
He's got to now go, well, if I've got to also step up, or I could be, also drop potentially to the bench, and a Snyman replacing him going forward in the tournament. I think it's a good way just to kind of keep guys on their toes, and it shows that Rassie's not afraid to make a bold call, when he sees that certain players will be best suited for a certain opposition.
And I like it. I like that ruthless kind of streak. That Rassie is quite a endearing character, with the media and that type of thing. Always been always been quite good. I mean, he can be a little bit prickly at times, but make no mistake, he's got that streak in him. Right? He's got that ruthless kind of, definitely not vindictive, but the focus is entirely on the team, and reputations don't matter to him, and never have really. Like a player like Eben Etzebeth, phenomenal player, like one of the best in the world in his position. And it's actually come on for a couple of months now. I don't think he's been at his best for a couple of months. I think injuries have probably not helped him, and you know, he might be playing with a niggle or two now. That is hindering him, which all test rugby players do at some stage. But he definitely hasn't been at his best, and neither has Marks. And so I like that from Rassie. I like the fact that it drives home once again that even in a big tournament like this, like, he's no respecter of reputation.
I think Ryan, let's touch on one final talking point, because it has been a big one. The officiating at the tournament, there's been plenty said. You know, World Rugby have issued a statement saying it hasn't really been up to standard. Michael Cheika, after the weekend, when Australia lost to Wales, he came out and had another full go at them.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Hanson's playing to the officials and saying, don't, you know, give them a break. You know, see, he's trying to win favour there. The Ireland coach mentioned that they had heard that certain penalties that went against them shouldn't have been given. So it's all been very interesting. There's a lot being said, but for me, I actually thought about, you know, I'm not a fan of Michael Cheika, and you know, I often think he's a sour loser. But he made a fair point, to my mind, saying that the referees are starting to look a little bit gun-shy, a little bit overly cautious. I think he said they were getting spooked by the administrators. And I think the point does resonate, because I've, you know, watching some of these games, and the refs at times are kind of getting the TMO in the ear and the assistants in the ear, second guessing themselves, going through replays in slow motion, definitely becoming a little bit overly cautious in a big tournament on the biggest stage where there's everyone watching them. It does look like they're a little bit afraid to sometimes stick by their own convictions, and it's a problem when you're getting a ref in a big game who's not willing to really back himself and to make those hard calls in the big moments.
Yeah, and it's been coming on for me for like 18 months or so now. I think the quality of officiating in, I would say, like below the top 3 in the world, there's a gulfing class between the top 3, and even then it's not like you know, the kind of quality that was there when the likes of Kaplan and that generation of referees were around. So I would say the gulfing class between the top three referees in the world and the rest is concerning. And it has been for 18 months, because this is a pattern. Like, we've seen it for in a period where decisions have determined results, and that's what you don't want as a referee. Yeah. I'm with Cheika. So for me, a referee is a paid professional at the highest level of the game, and in the world's the game's showcase tournament. And if a player is off form, consistently off form, there's repercussions for him. There shouldn't be a difference in standard for a player and a referee. And so I understand Cheika's point. I mean, maybe he didn't articulate it in the right way, but I do understand like the kind of gist of what he's saying, and I agree with him. If this is your job, and it's all you do, you've got to get it right. Especially in the big moments, because that's the expectation of players, right? We speak about temperament, the temperament of the world's best players, being the difference between those that are talented. So a lot of talented players in the world, but not all of them have a temperament for the big matches. It's the same with referees. A lot of talented referees, but the temperament is so critical. To make the right call at the big moments is so critical. And when you're consistently not making the right call at the big moments, when it's your entire job to do that, then there has to be like repercussions for you. You can't hide behind a Steve Hansen who's sympathetic to you for his own personal reasons. Yeah. World Rugby has got to lead the charge in this regard, and it's got to be a transparent process. Players are out there in the open, but referees, for some reason, are protected and they're dealt with through a process. And coaches are then taken to task when they openly criticize the referees.
Yeah.
I think the whole system is like messed up, and there's got to be an open and transparent system in how we deal with consistently poorly performing referees.
So as we've seen, plenty to talk about on that subject, but let's wrap it there and just hope for a weekend where there aren't any dramas.